Congratulations on the move, but also congratulations on passing your Masters as well.
Yeah, I think, it's over the last couple of days, it's been all about Germany, but, I think after getting the results in from DCU yesterday, I think that's the most exciting thing for me, was getting through the Masters, and obviously now looking forward to Cologne as well.
So that's a Masters in teaching, is it?
It is second to teaching, yeah.
And you've been doing a bit of that as well beforehand as well. You've been in a school and teaching a few boys how to play football.
Well, I don't know, I think they've taught me a little bit as well about football, but yeah, I was in Enda College in Finglas there for a year, and it was a really good experience for me. There was difficulties with different things, but it was something that I wanted to do and really enjoyed it. And of course, the boys having the football aspect of it as well, something that they enjoyed, and it was good to have that bit of something in common with them as well.
Yeah, and how did you find balancing work life and also pushing towards a football career?
It actually, I'd say the start of the Masters was a little bit more difficult because I was trying to, I suppose, get into the routine of, doing the Masters and getting into the training regime and everything, and, with lesson planning and organisation, I wasn't, up to scratch after coming off the back of an undergrad minute. But I think the second year in DCU really was, much more, a flow, there's a better flow to it, and that made it easy for me. Then I was able to work and do the best I could at both. And, I was very fortunate to say that the school and both schools that I've worked in for the last 2 years have been very, very supportive of me in the football. So Beneven made it very easy for me to do it.
Yeah, and so you finally got a move to FC Koln in Germany. So how's the German?
Crap. The best way to put it. I never was a big fan of languages in school, and from the Irish days as well, I wasn't great at the Old Irish, so it's something that will take a wee bit of time to learn, but it's something you have to do, and I enjoy doing it as well.
Yeah, so how did the move actually come about? Did they contact you? Were they scouting you over with Piedmont, or how did they see you to actually sign you up?
I think what the story was that their current manager, Billy Brown, got in contact with Colin Bell, who used to work together in Cologne with boys teams a few years back, and just got in contact with Colin in regards to a striker and if he had any recommendations. And I think Colin had just been sending them on different clips and different things of me playing, and I think after they seen that, they liked what they saw, and I went over a couple of weeks ago just to see everything and to meet some players and meet the manager, and it was really good. As soon as I went over, I really enjoyed going over, and they were straight away, they were delighted, they wanted me on board. So it was it happened very, very quickly, but I was delighted it did happen as well.
Yeah, so how are the facilities over in FC Koln? Is it kind of separated from the men's team, or are they all kind of in together?
No, it would be all in together. It's not actually too far from where the men's stadium is as well, but the women would usually play in the training ground. But there's a little, I think it's 10 or 12,000 seater kind of stadium in there, and that's where the women will play, and I think that's where a lot of the underage teams and the reserve team will play as well. So it's really, really top facilities. I went into it, I was blown away, the amount of pitches and everything there, and it just, when you compare it to here, there's not as much, all teams don't have as many facilities as they do over there, and I kind of fell in love with the place as soon as I went over. So straight away, it's from the offset, everything looks really, really good.
So what would the level of Bundesliga be like compared to, say, Ireland or even Italy, where there's a few Irish players playing as well, and even compared to the English Premier League, where would the Bundesliga stand in that sense?
I do think, obviously, because it's a professional or semi-professional league in Germany, that obviously depending on the team, in comparison to Ireland, where it is strictly amateur, there's obviously going to be a little bit of a golfing difference as well. Now, I think that there's a lot of Irish players that I do think that are capable of going professional. I think they're good enough. But I think, I suppose, the training regimes, the facilities available would be really, really top class. And in comparison to England, I'd say England and France and Germany would probably be, and Spain as well, would probably be the top leagues in Europe.
Yeah. So would the manager have given you any guarantees when you're signing that maybe you might have to bide a bit of time to get into the team, step up to the level of professional, or has he said that you might be able to push for a starting place straight away? Well,
I think that's entirely up to me, to be honest, Enda. I don't expect to go over there and everything's wonderful and I'm playing every game and I'm starting every game and I'm scoring goals every game. It's going to be a completely different environment for me, and he's not kind of hinted at anything. He's just gone over and he's seen what I can do, but he wants to also see it firsthand. And I think in speaking to Colin Bell as well, Colin did say, it might take me a little while to settle down to coming from a background where I wouldn't be involved in as much heavy loaded training. So look, and to be honest, I'm going over there and I'm going to work my socks off, and I know that if I do that, I always stand a chance. And I want to be playing games, I want to be involved, but I'm also going to be patient with it and take every opportunity as it comes.
Yeah, and I was speaking to Stephanie Roach a few weeks ago about her move to Italy, and whether or not she felt that she had to prove herself more to the players over there because they may not have seen her play on TV. Like, for example, if a player was moving from England, a men's player was moving from England to Germany, those German players will have watched them on TV. Is that something that you're conscious of going over, that you might actually have to prove yourself and prove your ability to these players, that you are actually good enough to step up to the level they are at?
I actually think quite the opposite. I'm looking at it from the point of view that I'm going to go in here and not a lot of them have heard of me or probably have seen me play before. So I kind of feel like take that as an advantage, because players, they might not know how I work, but defenders might also know, how does she play, and there's different strengths that I have that, it takes a little while to get used to them as well. And I'm going to go over there and I'm just going to, make it really, really difficult for them and make it difficult for the defenders that I play against. And even in training with the teammates, it's trying to get as comfortable with other players as possible and trying to get, bonds and friendships with players that might be playing close to you. And I think things like that there, not at all. I'm not out to prove to anybody that I'm capable, because I know deep down I am, and it's just I will just have to show that with the hard work. Yeah,
and so this move up to professional, do you think that'll give you a better chance of becoming Ireland's main striker, that Colin Bell might see you playing week in, week out, that'll give you a better chance to actually nail down a starting spot in the international side as well?
Absolutely, and I think that's really that's one of the real ambitions as well. I want to be playing, I want to be starting for Ireland, and I want to be playing for Ireland, as frequently as possible. But I'm aware of the talent that's involved in the squad as well. Leanne Kiernan and Rihanna Jarrett are also, really, really, really top strikers. So I have competition in that, and I don't look at it as a, you hope another player's playing poorly or anything. You just have to work harder, and when you get your opportunity, you have to take it. But ultimately, I do want to be playing with the seniors, and I want to be getting as many minutes as I can. And again, I want to get back scoring goals again. And I think this will absolutely help me, because the more training, practicing, and the consistency of practicing and playing against players that are better and playing at a high level will obviously help that. Yeah, and
you sacrificed quite a bit to actually get to this point in your career. Like the Donegal ladies team, they're playing in an Ulster final this year. You were part of that squad. So do you find that this might be just a culmination of the sacrifices that you have made are finally coming true, that you finally made it to the point where those sacrifices may have been worth it?
Of course it is, but I think when I made my Irish debut as well, that I realised that the sacrifices were worth it at that point. And again, I think maybe the milestone of scoring against Slovakia was also, it was also symbolic, as it showed that everything I'd done was, wasn't in vain, and that there was positives to come out of it. Again, yeah, look, I have sacrificed a lot, but I think the most important thing, when I look back now, there's nothing I would have changed, and I wouldn't change the fact I played Gaelic up to the age I did, because I'm happy with it now, and I still progressed and managed to get into this opportunity. So it would be different, if I had missed the opportunity, and I could say, well, I should have done that a wee bit earlier, but I've got my masters, I've got my college done, so I'm absolutely delighted with everything so far.
Yeah, there's a Women's World Cup going on right now. Have you been watching much of it?
I have been watching a lot of it. It's again disappointing that you're not involved, but it's good to watch, as it's definitely promoting the women's game in the most positive way.
What have you made of some of the VAR decisions? I think there was another big controversy last night in the Scotland-Argentina game.
Yeah, I was doing a podcast during the week, and one of the things that was disappointing me was maybe some of the officiating decisions that have been going on, and not even in terms of VAR, but even the time it's taken them to make decisions about certain things. And for me, you don't have that, the amount of hours and practice teams put in to be let down by things as your keeper has, it's half a foot off the line. I just don't see the, I don't see the logic in it, but it's disappointing to look at it from that point of view. But I suppose if you also look at it in broader terms, Scotland were 3-0 up and shouldn't really be conceding the other 2 goals either. So I suppose you can look at it that way, but I'd feel very hard done by if it was my team anyway.
Yeah, and another question that's kind of popped up during the Women's World Cup has been the issue of the size of the goals. That there's been quite a bit of criticism about the goalkeeping standards, and some people have suggested that because women are naturally smaller, that the goals should be smaller as well. What do you make of that argument?
No, I'd slightly disagree. I suppose, when I read certain articles about it, it seems sometimes you get frustrated because you think it's just a sexism thing. But when I broke it down, I don't think it was at all. But me personally, no, I don't think the goals are the problem. I think it's the access to coaches, goalkeeping coaches that female players get. When you break it down and compare the two, there's no comparison. So things like you can't be asking for one thing if they don't have something that's going to benefit them there to start off with. So I disagree with it, but it was a fair argument as well when I read some of the arguments against it. But give them more coaching, give them access to better coaching, and goalkeeping standards will naturally improve as well.